choreographer here today, Miss Denise Eason, and our music director. We're really excited to perform for you. I'm going to read you guys a little introduction about what we're going to do today. In March, the Hillsborough Players brought America's favorite musical comedy, Guys and Dolls, to the stage. Today, they'll be performing a mashup of songs that showcase some of their favorite moments. Guys and Dolls is centered around a gambler named Nathan Detroit who tries to find the cash to set up the biggest floating crap game New York City has ever seen while the authorities breathe down his neck. Guys and Dolls takes us from the heart of Times Square to the cafes of Havana, Cuba, and even to the sewers of New York City, and focuses on the age-old struggle between men and women. We hope you enjoy this selection from the Hillsborough Players production of Guys and Dolls.
I got the horse right here, the name is Paul Revere, and here's a guy that says if the weather's clear, can do. This guy says the horse can do. If he says the horse can do.
I'm Ken Valentine, cause on the morning line, the
This guy says the horse can do. But if the horse can do,
buy a half, the big guy says the horse can telegraph.
But Paul Revere, I'll fight. I hear his foot's all right. Of course, it all depends if it rained last night.
Ken Valentine, the lights was fine, but
This
God
means the horse
is a friend of mine.
It's the minute voice, like the three box noise. It says it's guy says pause and waste Redwood. I'll tell you Paul Revere, now this is no bum steer. It's from a handicap, but who's real sincere.
Ken Valentine, the same morning line, the guy says the horse can 5 to 9. So if you can buy a half, the big guy says the horse can telegraph. Valentine, I got the horse right here.
You promised me this, you promised me that, you promised me everything under the sun. You give me a kiss and you're grabbing your hat and you're off to the races again. When I think of the time gone by, and I think of the way I tried, I honestly died.
Call a lawyer and sue me, sue me. What can you do me? I love you. Give a holler and hate me. Go ahead, hate me. I love
Years
you.
of my life, I was a fool to get to you.
Already, I'm just an old good Nick. All right already. It's true. So new. So sue me, sue me. What can you do me? I love
You
you.
gamble in here, you gamble in there, you gamble on everything all except me and the thing you keeping me back in the end, so you're back in the money again. When I think of the time gone by,
Adelaide,
I think of the way I tried,
Adelaide.
I could honestly die.
Serve a paper and sue me, sue me. What can you do me? I love you. Give a holler and hate me, hate me. Go ahead and hate me. I love
Run
you.
me down, don't come to me to bail you
Right
out.
already, so call a policeman. All right already. It's true. So new. So sue me, sue me. What can you do me? I love
You're
you.
running the game, you're running the game. I'm not gonna play like a bill to them. I'm thinking I'm tired, it's all around. I'm telling out the whipper when I think of the time gone by.
Adelaide, Adelaide.
When I think of the way I tried,
Adelaide.
I could honestly die.
picture about a Minnesota man, so in love with a Mississippi girl, that he sacrifices everything and moves all the way to Biloxi. That's what's playing at the Roxy.
What's in the daily news? I'll tell you what's in the daily news. Story about a guy who bought a fight with small ring wheel, but otherwise would have been disunion news. That's what's in the daily news.
What's happening all over? I'll tell you what's happening all over. Guys sitting at home by a television set who once used to be something of a rover. That's what's happening all over. Love is the thing that has licked them. And it looks like Nathan's just another victim. Yes, sir! When you see a guy reach for stars in the sky, you can bet that he's doing it for some doll.
When you spot a John waiting out in the rain, chances are he's the same. There's only a John to be for a change.
When you meet a gent paying all kinds of rent for a flat that could flatten the Taj Mahal. Call it sad, call it funny, but it's better than even money. That the guy's only doing it for some dough.
When you see a Joe waiting half of his dough, make a bet that he's making for some dough.
When a bum buys wine like a bum can afford, it's a cinch that the bum is under the thumb of some little fraud.
When you meet a mug lately out of the jug, and he's still living platinum Holly Rock.
Call it hell, call it heaven, it's a probable 12 to 7 that the guy's only doing it for some dough. You doing my name is nice, it's nice, it's nice. Take it in, it's nice.
When you see a sport and his cash are short, make a bet that he's making with some dough.
When the guy wears tails with the friendly wife, who the hell do you think he's sizzling pink on Saturday nights?
When a lazy slob takes a good steady job, and he smiles for my talents who are to solve.
Call it dumb, call it clever, but you can bet odds forever that the guy's only doing it for some dough, some dough, some dough. Guy's only doing it for some dough.
That was awesome. We need to have every meeting start that way. So we have a quorum. I have a couple colleagues that are not here, but we do have a quorum tonight. And so we're going to ask Miss Beverly Flatt to do the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. She's about to embark on a career, experience of a lifetime. So we want to have her do this
Thank
one
you.
last time. Thank you.
Please join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we have more good news. Dr. Joseph? You want to go ahead? Okay.
We do. If you were here earlier, I'm not sure if that got on tape, but the Hillsborough High School players just performed a medley of songs from their recent production of Guys and Dolls. And the Hillsborough players are an award-winning high school theater program from Hillsborough High School. Continuing a rich tradition that has lasted several decades, the faculty and students of the Hillsborough Players have a singular mission: to create an unforgettable theater experience for all involved and to prepare students for life in the arts. Last year, the Hillsborough Players were awarded Best Show at the Nashville High School Musical Theater Awards for their production of Godspell. And this show is amazing. I have not missed, I think I've missed one show at Hillsborough since being on the board, and it's really a treat to go out and see. And I cannot thank Kristen Moon and Will Butler enough for all the work that they give. And 3 of the performers are seniors, and 2 will be continuing theater, one at NYU, New York, and the other at the Boston Conservatory. So it's been really fun to watch these kids grow up.
Good, thank you, Ms. Pierce. We have student ambassadors from Overton High School tonight. Dr. Pittman, would you like to introduce our guests?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So we saw that hard work really paid off with those students from Hillsborough, and it paid off in entertainment. But hard work also pays off in preparing students for advanced academics. So I'm prepared. I'm glad tonight to have 2 students who are going to talk about their academic experience. They met Dr. Joseph when he came to a tour at Overton. So Carla Nunez and Esther Nuozo are going to talk about their experience at Overton.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys?
Good, thank you.
Good that you guys are good too, which is the best thing because we don't want to be bad. Don't worry, I get that. So, hi, my name is Carla Nunez. I am a senior from Young Overton High School, and I am in the web design pathway from the IT Academy. I speak English, yeah, but I haven't been here just only for 5 years, so don't think that I was born here. I actually came with another language. I speak fluently Spanish. I came from Cuba. Don't freak out. I'm not gonna do nothing to anybody in here. Actually, I came from Cuba like 5 years ago, like I said, and I lived in Miami for about 7 months, and in there I didn't saw any future at all. So I moved here to Nashville, Tennessee, and I attended Young Overton. I really think that I did a really good accomplishment with myself in these 4 years that I have been in Young Overton. I passed from being a level 1 ELD student to being a Cambridge program student, which is one of our highest programs in the school. I mean, I think you all know about it, so I don't think I should say more about it. My experience with Cambridge, although, is really good because the diversity that we have in our school is so much making like a family to our school itself. I got the chance to meet people that think like me, people that will help me out to become better instead of like, you know, high school, you're gonna do drugs and you're gonna be a bad kid. No. I met people that do think about the future, people that do wanna grow up itself. Like, for example, Esther. Esther is a year younger than me, but yeah, she's a student that had the chance to meet at Cambridge from an early age. And I just have been in Cambridge for 2 years. And I'm just like too proud that people that think like me do wanna like grow up itself. I also would like to say that my experience in the school has been very good so far. Although that I'm leaving this year, I did have fun on the school, and even though that I moved out of the zone, I did wanted to stay in there. I did not want to leave my school. I met so many people. And I think that made myself become someone else. I used to be one girl who wouldn't talk to nobody for fear, but I became someone totally different. Now I meet all of you guys, and I'm just talking like I don't really care from which part of the world you are. As long as I can communicate with my hands, I think you guys will understand me, even if you don't speak the language. So now I'll let Esther tell her story, which is amazing too. And if you have questions, you can tell her later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Okay, I'm a little taller, so. Well, good evening. Hi, my name is Esther Nuozo. I'm a junior at John Overton High School, and I'm in the Health Science Academy. So ever since I was really young, my parents always pushed me to do well academically, get good grades, and be just a great person overall. But I started to push myself, so they didn't have to push me anymore. So Currently, I'm in the Cambridge program at my school, as Carla was talking about. It's our advanced academic program. It resembles AP classes. So these classes are very rigorous, and some people call it stressing myself out, but I call it a challenge because I enjoy pushing myself. So I'm also in the top 5% of my class, and I like to immerse myself in clubs and serve my community. So I'm an Academy ambassador. I'm in HOSA and DECA and different clubs around my school. And Overton has afforded me many opportunities to just meet different people, become a well-rounded person, and just get ready for the workforce. So I've been able to volunteer at local hospitals and shadow many physicians, and this has instilled a passion in me to serve others. So I aspire to become a physician in the future. So.
Good job.
Does anybody have a question before we sit down? Because I don't think you guys are going to want us standing here forever.
Carla, are you going to college?
I am going to Lipscomb University, actually.
Ooh, very good.
I am trying to pursue my doctorate degree and become a pediatrician, actually.
Right. Very good.
And tell them where you want to go.
I'm deciding between a couple of schools, but I'm thinking about attending Johns Hopkins or Vanderbilt. So.
Yeah.
Thank you both. Very good luck to you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We will move on to governance issues and the consent agenda. Ms. Spearing.
Thank you. The consent agenda reads as follows. 1A, approval of minutes, 11/29/16. B, recommended approval of change order number 1 for Hume Fogg High School renovations, Messer Construction Company. C, recommended approval of request number 1 for purchase of furniture, pre-K programs at various schools, GBI. D, recommended approval of request number 1 for asbestos abatement services, Hume Fogg High School renovations, Levy Industrial Contractors. E, awarding of purchases and contracts. 1, Advanced Medical Contractors Incorporated. Mechanical, thank you. Advanced Mechanical Contractors, Inc. 2, awardee from ITB number B17-13, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, IQ Mechanical. 3, awardee from ITB number B17-22, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, IQ Electronics. 4, Benefit Express. 5, Business Systems and Consultants, Inc. 6, Catapult Learning, LLC. 7, Dodge of Columbia. 8, Ford of Murfreesboro. 9, Putnam County Schools. 10, Scholastic, Inc. 11, Total Mechanical Solutions, LLC. 12, TriStar Mechanical, LLC. F, Legal Settlement Claim C-35555 for $9,900. G, Legal Settlement Claim for $45,000. And H, Legal Settlement Claim L-16090 for $17,460.02. Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Can I get a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. We will move on to the strategic framework approval. Dr. Carla?
Thank you. I'll take over that. At our last board meeting, the board reviewed the final draft document of our strategic plan framework and gave approval for the completion of the final document. You've been provided with a printed version of the document. It's in front of you. We also provided you with a digital copy for you to share with your constituents. The digital version of this document will also be available on our website later this week. I urge you to share this document with your constituents and invite them to explore it on our website.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Dr. Joseph? Very good. All right, we will adjourn this business meeting, and then we will, pardon me?
To approve it.
Oh, we're going to vote on it? Okay, all right. All right, so can I get a motion to approve the I can't say it, strategic framework?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? No questions or discussion?
Worked very hard on it, and so we're pleased.
We're ready.
with,
Okay.
I think we're ready.
Okay,
to-
all right. So all in favor, show of hands, please. Opposed? Thank you. Very good. Unanimous approval. All right. Now we will adjourn and move on to the work session. Ms. Bugs? That's your cue.
I apologize. Be there, no further business. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. All right. So we do have a quorum, and we are going to have discussion on re-envisioning our schools project.
Hey, thank you once again. So tonight, the board will also receive more detail about our programmatic and facility evaluation project that we are calling MNPS Next, Delivering Great Schools. The presentation this evening will be led by Dr. Jana Carlisle, our Chief of Staff, Mr. Chris Henson, our Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Ed Humble, and Dr. Simi Rainsford, and Dr. Susan Zoller of MGT Consulting Group. As a background, MGT has worked with the district on many capital improvement projects over the last 15 years. The team they have assembled to lead the implementation, to lead and implement MNPS Next includes seasoned educators, as well as experts who have led similar programmatic and facility assessments for school districts around the country. The purpose of MNPS Next is to provide access and equity to high-quality programs and facilities for all students. The goal of the project includes improving student outcomes, increasing resources and fiscal efficiencies, and increasing MNPS's market share and desirability by prospective families. Modern technology-equipped facilities support MNPS delivering a rigorous, relevant curriculum to all students. MGT is going to evaluate the adequacy of our facilities in terms of their quality, efficiency, and educational sustainability. The firm will also evaluate and analyze other related data, including the findings from our transition team report, our academic priorities, enrollment patterns, evolving demographics, and fiscal realities and constraints. The project includes a comprehensive scope of work that has been built from our collective learnings from the transition team's report, our listen and learn sessions, and our strategic planning process. And specifically, one of the questions that came from the transition report was the question around whether fifth grade could be moved back to the elementary school. So we see this as a multi-year initiative, with step one being, let's look at the fifth grade question, and then we'll work from there. So at this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Carlisle, who will and Mr. Henson, who will bring the team up for the discussion.
Good evening. How are you all?
Great.
Great. So tonight, what Mr. Henson and I are going to do is kick this off, and we have Ed Humble here and Simi Rayford, and they're going to take you through the details of the project plan. So Chris and I are leading this together, if I can get the page down. The first piece is just to go over the agenda, what we're going to talk about tonight. We wanted to introduce you to MNPS Next, Delivering Great Schools, go through some background, what led us to this point. Then Simi will talk about peer district comparison initiatives, because we've looked at what other districts have done. Phase one is what we're calling this work that would take us through to September, October, and we'll talk about who's involved in the process activities, the review of the project scope and timeline, and Dr. Humble's going to take us through that part, and then Simi will come back and talk us through the community engagement piece, and there'll be plenty of time for question and answer. So we wanted you to, Susan is not able to be here tonight, but they have a team with whom I believe you're all familiar, or many of you are, great expertise. And then Chris and I are the co-team or executive sponsor leads, for lack of a better way of reporting it. I'm going to turn it over to Chris.
Thank you. And I will just say a word about MGT of America. I think several of you may know they have a very long history with the district. In fact, MGT of America was the firm that then Mayor Bill Purcell commissioned to perform a performance audit on the school district back in 2000. And then they are also the firm that almost 15 years ago, right after I came to the district, where we decided that we needed a long-term master facilities plan. And they came in, they've got software that they use. They trained our people over time on how to use that software so that we can have that 10-year master facilities plan that you all are familiar with through the capital needs discussion. And so they're very familiar with us. They're very familiar with our buildings. What we had initially asked them to do was to go back and do a relook at every single of our buildings as it relates to facility condition, as it relates to educational suitability, et cetera. And then once we started hearing the discussions as it related to what was occurring at the transition team, specifically in the school choice committee, we decided to expand that project and to include what we're now calling MNPS Next. And so as you can see with a little bit of history there, the context, the Choice Transition Team Committee report had findings and recommendations specifically as it relates to grade configuration as well as building capacities and building utilization. We do have a number of schools that now have either low enrollment or declining enrollment. We project next year to have 22 schools that will have fewer than 300 students. We also project next year to have 23 schools with some overlap of that 22 schools that would be at less than 70% of capacity. And so with that knowledge and with looking at the projections that are coming from our student assignment office, we feel like it's a really good time and sort of just an outgrowth of the both the Listen and Learns as well as the transition team report to begin this process. As you can see, and as you know, we have evolving demographics. We have gentrification occurring throughout the county, and both of those are changing the distribution of our student populations. And then fiscal realities and constraints, looking at becoming as efficient as we possibly can. We know that we are dealing with limited or finite resources, and so we want to be as efficient and we want to be as good stewards of the public dollars as we can. So as Dr. Carlisle mentioned, we are calling this MNPS Next, Delivering Great Schools, and this is phase one. So the work as it relates to phase one would basically revolve around determining the feasibility of moving the 5th grade to our elementary schools to help address student attrition between elementary and middle school. That was a specific recommendation from the Transition Team School Choice Committee. Which would lead to the scope of this project, again, phase one, investigating the feasibility of combining the 5th grade with other elementary grades. The goals of this project, of course, the number one goal would be to improving student outcomes. As I mentioned earlier, we would like to also increase our resource and fiscal efficiencies as much as we can, and as Dr. Joseph said, increase MNPS market share and desirability, all of these tying into the transition team report. And so as I mentioned a little bit ago, the role of MGT, they are going to conduct the school facilities condition and educational suitability assessments. They have been doing that now for the last month or more already. Say again?
Since the first week in April.
Since the first week in April, where they're sending a team of engineers and educators and others out into every single school, evaluating and assessing both the physical condition of the building as well as the educational suitability of the facility. And those assessments, as you can see, will be completed in late May. And that will enable us to update our 10-year master facilities plan, which will be available in the fall, just in time for the Capital Needs Committee to begin discussion as it relates to our 2018-19 capital improvement budget request. Also, as I mentioned, assisting and facilitating this initiative would be the initial themes crafted in late May. The phase one analysis and scenarios would be completed in early fall. It's important that we complete these in early fall so that if there's anything that's going to be implemented in school year 18-19, that we have those decisions made in early fall so that they can be included in the choice process, the school choice process. As mentioned, the facility assessments, just to give you a little information about the facility assessments, to the right, that was not intended for you to be able to read that. That's just an example of an assessment that has, and they can tell you more about it, the number of categories or components that are reviewed. Their software is called BASIS, Building Assessment System. That is the software that we've now been using for almost 15 years that they trained our staff on how to use. There are weighted categories as it relates to facilities assessments. The building condition, there's a 50% weight. The educational suitability, there's a 20% weight. Technology readiness is a new category that we added this year that has a 20% weight, and then the school site has a 10% weight. And so as we look at the scope of work, this just gives you the different phases. Of course, project initiation would be the first phase, which occurred back in March and is sort of still ongoing. The next would be data collection and analysis this month and next. The initial board input and discussion, which we're starting to this evening and will be ongoing. And then the peer district process, comparisons, that has been ongoing. As mentioned, Simi will be going over some of those with you this evening. Community engagement will occur this summer. And then the scenarios will be unveiled again this summer, July-August timeframe, decision-making matrix in August, and then present draft scenarios and board action, as I said, in the early fall, so that if anything is going to affect the 2018-19 school year, we will have those decisions made early enough so that they are in advance of the school choice process. Do they have hard copies? Do they have hard copies?
I think you don't have hard copies yet, right?
No,
Okay, we had a copier snafu. Bridget's bringing them shortly, so you don't feel like you have to memorize all of this. By now, you've probably have these components of the strategic framework memorized, our mission, our values. The point to show it here is that all of this work is aligned and it's in support of the direction in which we're going. The work really cuts across all of these areas. There'll be, you heard about community engagement. We'll talk more about that, how it affects our people and where they're working, our students. There are actually several specific strategies and high-level actions that address the need to look at configurations, the way in which our schools are organized, and how we need to assess those. Those are in two different strategy areas, and then our organization is how we support all of this work. So that's just to remind you, and then quickly to go back through, Chris has already mentioned this, but what was the purpose of the overall transition team? And there was a number 2 specifically looking at school choice and the extent to which it's equitable, accessible, and supportive of students and families. And then what that team, this particular school choice sub-team did was looked at the availability of school choice as well as the processes, policies, and systems that support choice and program selection, and then recommended specific strategies to ensure school choices in MNPS is equitable, accessible, and supports the needs of diverse students and families. We, many of the high-level the high-level actions in the strategic framework fall out of that recommendation. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our team from MGT.
And which are you clicking to advance?
Just do the arrow down.
The arrow down. Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you for all that. Okay. As Chris mentioned earlier, we are in the midst of engaging in a comparison with peer districts around their process that they are using in similar initiatives to transform and to improve their school systems. And what you will see in a moment are just a high-level summary of some of the beginning comparisons that we've done. So there were four main things that we saw across the board that was common across all of these initiatives. And this one, that their plan has a very inclusive plan development that includes central office staff, school administrators, school board members specifically, and then within each school district, they have some members that are specific to the needs in that district. Their plans were developed over a period of months, and several of them took over a year or more to develop. They included a very broad-based polling and opinion gathering process, both in person, so they had a series of community engagement sessions where the public can come in, and also the questions that they presented in those in-person meetings, they also provided online. So an example, Hillsborough County, which is Tampa, Florida, in putting together their plan, they put together an 11-member panel that they called their Success Plan Steering Committee, and that committee consisted of 7 central office administrators, 3 school-based administrators, and 1 board member. Oops. So, looking across, we then did a content analysis of the plans in the districts that we looked at, and we found 5 common themes that went across all of the plans. One, being an educational organization, there should be no surprise that all of them had language that spoke to all graduates being career and college ready at graduation. 4 of the systems had a focus on strong culture and relationships, built on their belief that systems work best when within those systems, the people who work in the systems, students and teachers and administrators have a positive and productive working relationship, and that positive relationship extends beyond just the school out into the community as well. 4 of the comparison districts had effective, efficient, and equitable use of resources. No one had a secret money tree from which they could get an unlimited amount of resources, so all of them had to be very judicious, and 4 especially spoke to this and targeted it in their plans. 4 also spoke to optimize organizational performance, and that tied very closely into the efficient use of resources. So they looked to see where in any part of the organization they were either duplicating efforts unnecessarily or there were gaps. There were needs that they had that really did not belong to anyone, but that someone needed to take ownership in and make sure they happen. And then there were 6 of the districts that put a large emphasis in their strategic plan on community partnerships and engaging, with the belief that, again, it's not just what happens internally, but it's the way we involve and engage all of our publics, multiple external stakeholder groups, that made a tremendous difference in the quality of teaching and learning in those districts. Ed,
turn it over
you're
to me.
on.
Thank you, Sibby, very much. I want to take you through the process in a little bit, but if you can just bear with me for a second, I'm up in front of you here, and I have to say, Chris said early on that we at MGT have really had the honor of working with Nashville Davidson County Public Schools for over 15 years now, and you can tell from my gray hair that when I first started with you, I had black hair, by the way, and so I've really had the honor to be with you through this whole process, and I can't tell you how enthused I am about this. I do a number of different things. I talk about you guys all over the country, by the way, and so I hope that's okay. But because right now with what's going on here, one of the things that I've had the opportunity to do through my career is teach school planning at the university level, and you're doing it. You're doing what we always say you should be doing. We're tying everything together and saying, let's make this all work together, and every piece has to be, if I jump to the end of that graph up there, they all have to overlap with one another, and that's what we're doing. So it's exciting, and we feel honored that you invited us back, and we're excited to be here doing this work with you. So with that, I'm gonna take you through this, and again, this is one that you're not gonna be able to read all those things from there, but this is kind of how the process works. And if you go over there to the far left, it really starts with what's the background that we're working from, and you've done a lot of work. We have the 100-day report. We have the strategic framework in place. We're developing the master school facilities plan now. We have the goals that we want to achieve from this, and those goals revolve around student achievement, fiscal efficiencies, and the share of the market and desirability for people to send their students to Nashville Nashville Public Schools. And so that's the goals we want to meet. So we start from that, okay? Now, the first piece of that is, and I'm going to get into more detail. Chris showed you the kind of the overview of the work plan. The first piece of that is that we've got to gather all the data. Because I always like to talk about whatever kind of plan you're doing for a school district, or really for anything we do in our lives, whatever kind of plan, it's kind of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. And if you don't have all the pieces of that puzzle, you never see the big picture, okay? This data part of this is, let's get all the pieces of the puzzle. Let's have everything in front of us to look at, because then it will emerge and we'll see the big picture of where we need to go, and we'll see the directions of where we need to go. So that's why I think this is really excited about it. I'm not going to read, you'll have hard copies of this, but it includes all those assessments we're doing now. Chris has already told you the 4 assessments. It's going to include all the demographics, the capacity of your schools, and I could talk about capacity all day. When I taught school facility planning, students would say, we're not going to talk about capacity again, are we? And I'd say, yeah, we are, because it's such an important piece of, because it's not about square footages, it's about what are we going to do in our schools? What's the programs? This is all about education. It's not about facilities. It's all about how can we make things better for kids. And so we really look at everything in that way. And it's all those pieces. We got to put that together, and that's what we're really working on now, and I'll show a little more detail when I get into the detail of the work plan here. From all of that, then, some themes will develop. There'll be some themes that, Nashville Public Schools have, real good, these kind of facilities, not so good over here. There's some themes that are gonna generate from this, and there's some issues that go along with those themes that will generate from this. Then we need to take that out to the community engagement sessions, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the process for that, because Simi's going to be back up here in a few minutes and tell you that. But it has to be community engagement. Has to be that. It's not, we don't say this is a community meeting. These aren't meetings that get dominated by 1, 2, 3 people. These are interactive kinds of things. We've got the technology now to do interactive kinds of things and really involve people and get them excited when they come. And that's what we want to do in this. And at that point, we're not coming and giving the community any answers, because we don't have them yet. We've got a lot of data, and we've got themes that came from that, but they're going to help us figure out the answers, okay? And that's what real community engagement is about. So that's what we're going to do from that. From that, we'll evolve into that next 3 lines you see on there is the scenarios, because there will not be one way to put all this together. There'll be options, and we'll need to look at different options. And you've added in, we're going to have and we always have that to do. We always have, okay, what are the best options? We've added in here that grade level configuration. That's a major component when we start looking at this, is because there's going to be some real differences in what kind of facilities support what programs, how this can work, how the capacity of the schools fits with that, and to make that decision. And you know this, you're going to make that decision ultimately on what's the best thing for kids in Nashville, and that's what you're going to make it on. But to have that information, you're going to have to know these other goals in there. What's the fiscal efficiency of some different things? That's part of the real world that we live in. How does this really head us toward those goals? And so there's going to be some different scenarios, and we'll look at those, and we'll debate those, and we'll discuss those. And that is a real healthy kind of a thing. From that, then, will come how we put this plan together. And then you see that there is 4 plans that come together, and they all overlap. Of course, there's a facility component to this, but remember, that's more about education. Of course, there's the 3-year MNPS Next plan. Of course, there has to be a funding and a phasing plan. There's all of that goes into it, and there's a whole community engagement part of this. All of that goes in, and now we're talking about the overall strategic plan for the school district. And then at the end, we get into the implement, monitor, and evaluate, and it kind of then starts over again. But because this is a never-ending process that we're in, because we keep evolving, and the needs of our kids keep changing, and that's great. That's not something to be fearful for. It's great. I hope I know how to do this right. Simi, you said I just hit it down, right? Okay, so we have in that first part that Chris talked about was the project initiation. We have put together, the district has put together our committee and who's involved in that, and you'll see we've spent some time on trying to really have it be broad-based, and you'll see there's 37 total representatives, and you can see the different groups, okay? Now, we have we have narrowed that down to a group of 18 people that we will have on the weekly calls. Every week, we're going to have a call and talk about where are we, where are we on the deliverables, what's the status of this, so we can keep checking one another and keep making sure we're all moving in the right direction and moving where we want to go. And that's a group of 18 just because it's kind of manageable, and that's the people that kind of have the boots on the ground. But monthly, we're going to hold a meeting, and we're going to involve all of the people, all 37 people that are involved in that. So we check in every month as we go through with this, and because if we don't ever want to get to the end and say, oh, we should have looked at this or should have looked at that. So we're going to keep that communications, that collaboration. That's the key to all of this, okay? This now, on these process steps, this aligns with what Chris showed you in the circle all the way around. I'm not going to belabor this too much because this is the detail, but I want you to see, like on the project initiation, these are the things that we do with the project initiation, is that we do finalize the scope, we finalize the timelines, we finalize the deliverables. What is going to come from each one of these, okay? Critical to this project initiation is the communications plan for both internal and external. Again, communications, collaboration throughout the process, that's what's really going to make that work. So that's happening over March and April. We're a long ways through that now. This is kind of a piece of that, although it's separated out here as to board input in this board meeting, okay? The next one you see is from April to June, and that is, you remember that long line with all of that data, okay? This is to collect that data and do the analysis of it. So we've got teams, if you haven't seen them out there in the schools, they're there. We got 4 and 5 teams a week that are out doing all of those assessments of your buildings. We are in the process of gathering all of the demographic information, all of your capacity information, and we'll have all that, and we'll analyze all of that and have that available to us no later than that. We show this April through June, but we're going to be finished with these on-site assessments here. Next week. We finish them up next week? Simi is so good. And we finish them up next week, and then we'll have, there'll be a lot of work in the office of putting all that together so it makes sense and you can see the numbers. But then we have that detailed data to be able to start working from. So now we're working on the facts. This is a data-driven kind of a thing, okay? So then now here's today. This is this initial board input discussion at this work session that we're doing right here tonight, okay? Simi took you through the step of this, which has been going on since the beginning, from March, and she's pretty well got that all put together, or it is all put together, the research on the peer districts, best practices, because we're going to want to come back and check ourselves at different places as we move along through this whole process. Simi explained that to you here just a little bit ago. Okay. The community engagement is going to happen over June and July, and again, it's going to be a lot of ways for people to engage. There will be a chance to come together and be interactive and use the clickers and all those things, but we'll also have some online surveys, things that people can just do from home and be able to provide input into this process. Okay. Simi's going to get you into more detail of how that works. Then comes, now we've got all this data, remember all the pieces of the puzzle, then comes, this is the fun part now, that July and August, we're going to be drafting these scenarios. How do we deliver great schools? How do we meet all of these needs? And we're going to have to put together some different ways that can happen, because we can't, again, we're going to look at different options. We're going to look at the 5th grade at the elementary, but we're going to look at what's the difference between that and 5th grade where they are now. But that's not the only piece. There's a lot of different pieces we're going to look at for options as to how many facilities, where are the facilities, how does it fit with the demographics, all those kinds of things. And we're going to have to put together some scenarios. And we're not going to do it in a vacuum at MGT. We're going to do it with this committee and with this collaboration with you and your community throughout, okay? And then the next piece that comes then is to, now we have this, we'll kind of narrow down some scenarios. Now, how do we decide, okay? Well, we're going to put together a decision-making matrix that says, if you do this, here's what happens, here's you do this. It'll be electronic, and it'll say, if you do this, here's what happens. If you do this, here's what happens, and then let's move forward so that we can see, okay, and then it'll tie it back to those original goals. How does going this direction come back to those goals that we all said at the beginning that we wanted to meet? And that's how we'll go through that process. And then finally in July and August, we'll do the presentation of the drafts. We'll present the scenarios. We'll do that with the community again. So Simi's going to talk about that. So we go to the community and we get their input in it, okay? And then we go to the community and says, here's what you told us, here's what's come of that. Are we getting it right? Or do we need to go back and relook at some things? Let's really involve that, and that's an exciting and fun process to do. And then we do the presentations, and we've started that here in April to the board, but that'll go all the way through September. And then we really see the next steps and sequencing and building this implementation plan over throughout the fall. So that's the kind of the detail to that process. This is, I know I'm saying this too many times, but I applaud you for taking this on, because not all the school districts around the country are willing to do that, because this is putting everything out there and putting everything on the board. So thank you for doing that. It's going to make things better for kids in your community, and that's why we're all here. Simi, back to you.
So one of the key voices that we need to hear are from the people who will be most directly affected by the MMPS Next plan. And so, as Ed mentioned, through our scope of work, we have plans to make sure that we hear those voices. So when we begin to structure these community input or community engagement sessions, there are three big things that we make sure that we do. One, that it's widely promoted and all-inclusive. And I jokingly say, there are those people that you could literally have the Goodyear blimp flying with a banner every day, and they'll say, I didn't know that was happening. But with all of the media that we have available, we can tweet, Snapchat, we can Facebook, we can do all of these things electronically, plus good old-fashioned paper and pencil, plus posting things to the website. We can do a really good job, or you can do with your communication folks, a very good job in making sure the word gets out that these events are happening. Two, we develop a series of questions collaboratively with you on what we want to gather in terms of perceptions. And those perceptions are going to be the key drivers of the fulfillment of your strategic framework and for your long-range facilities plan and for MMPS Next. And then third, making sure that there are multiple venues and opportunities to participate in person or online. So we will have a number of venues not yet determined, and we will also have a window period that is to be determined, that the same questions that are asked in the live sessions will also be available for you to answer online. So with those live sessions, there are basically three parts to it. It begins with a trained MGT facilitator who will get up and give a brief PowerPoint explaining what this is all about. What is this in connection to? Much like the PowerPoint that we're presenting here. Then we'll explain the process where each person will receive a clicker that we have a little screenshot of there as they come in. And this device will allow them to participate in a software called Turning Point software. And the questions that we will have developed collaboratively will all be in that PowerPoint. So that's the interactivity. It's not the usual, hello, my name is Sam Wilson, I live at this street. It is everyone in that room, including children. We encourage young people to participate. These are their schools too. So we give them a clicker and they will see a question. We will have a sense of how many people are in the audience, and so we'll know when basically everyone has clicked in, and when we close out the polling, the bar chart, like the one you see in the PowerPoint, will come up, and we will know the views of the people in the audience on that particular topic. And so we'll gather a lot of quantitative. We'll see what they strongly agree with. We'll see what they strongly disagree with. And we will have other facilitators who will have a copy of that PowerPoint, and they'll be recording those percentages. And so we know that numbers tell part of the story, but they don't tell the whole story. So we want, as Paul Harvey would say, and I'm dating myself with that reference, the rest of the story. And so with that, we break into smaller groups in which now you can say, okay, on this particular question, 90% of you said that this particular aspect of the school system is excellent. Tell us what specifically is excellent about this. Or half of you said you absolutely agree on this point, half of you said you absolutely disagree. So we have really no overlap in viewpoints. Why is this such a contentious issue? Why do we have two diametrically opposed views on this. And so the richness of that conversation, what have I done?
Uh-oh, okay.
Ah, there we go.
It's back.
It's back. So, and that way it gives people, because for any of you who participate in large group, you know that one person tends to dominate their opinion. But in this process, everyone has a chance to weigh in, both in the large group and then our trained facilitators in the small group, those folk who were itching to say something. We have people that make sure, again, in the small group, all voices are heard. So as we put this together, there are 5 big decisions, actions that we have to take in preparation. One, we're working with the communications folk to make sure that we clearly explain when we advertise this, why this is being held, what format the session will be, and what are you going to do with all this information? We've given you our opinions on all this. How is it going to be used? We've got to figure out the logistics. How many of these sessions are going to take place? Where will they take place? And how long each session will last. And I will tell you, historically, they last 2 hours. 1 hour is for the large group session, 1 hour for the small group session. We figure out a communication strategy. So all of those different technologies that we have that we can utilize to get the word out, we utilize. Plus, if there are key audiences that we know typically either traditionally have not been a part or have not had a voice, or that we know absolutely if we don't hear from anyone else, we've got to hear from these folk. We make sure that we target our communications to pull those in. Community input, session content, and sequence. What do we want to ask, and in what order do we want to ask them? And so again, that's a collaborative process where we're working with you to decide what those are going to be in terms of the questions, and then what will be our next steps from there. And then always, everywhere, there are political sensitivities, there are hot buttons, hot issues. So we want to make sure that we surface those as we need to, but then also have a plan for what we do when they surface and to be prepared to answer those challenges. So that, in a nutshell, is our community input process. And so now we have time for you to ask additional questions.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Berry.
This is so exciting. Thank you so much for this presentation. It appears to me that this will create the opportunity for enhanced parental involvement. So that's very exciting, because we know the more parents are involved, the better chance our kids have of succeeding. So this is exciting. I also love the idea that the way this is considered, that input will be, looks like, easily collected from a wide variety of people, not just people who are able to get up, but from a wide variety of people. I have a question about the clicker. I love the idea of the clicker. Is it more about like evaluating the quality of the programs and the quality of the school, or is it more, or will it also include grade configuration desires, desires about how the school might change, those kinds of more specific?
It's really both. It typically starts out, and Ed can join me in this, typically we start out by getting some demographic information. Who do we have with us tonight? So that's our way of first testing the clickers to make sure they're all working, but also we'll say, are you a parent of an MNPS student? Are you an employee of the system? Are you a community member? And again, it doesn't tell us who they are by name, but it just gives a sense that we've got stakeholders who have students or have had students in the system. Then we typically move to some types of questions around quality. So if you had to rate the quality of education your child is receiving, how would you rate it? And then we give them some opportunities to do that. So we start them, we sort of ease them into it with some questions that we know that they'll have an opinion about or have some experience with, and we'll start with those questions. questions. Then we move a little deeper into some things that are some possible things that might happen that we'd like to talk to them about and get their viewpoint on. So if we know that grade configuration is a part, so we'll ask a question, for example, is around moving 5th grade to the elementary or some form of grade configuration. Sometimes we do this and it says and we do it as a forced choice. So here are several choices. Which one do you feel should be the one? And they grumble and they say, oh, we want all of them. And we say, well, you can tell us more about that in a small group. So we force them to tell us specifically, what they really, really have an interest in. Anything more?
No, I always preach, if somebody's answered the question, don't dogpile
Okay,
on.
all right.
I think you answered it well.
So then in the small groups, will parents have an opportunity to discuss these things? Because
Exactly.
sometimes just the discussion will change people's minds.
Exactly. And sometimes people say, I wasn't really sure about the question, so I clicked this, but I'm not really sure. And so we explain that in a little more depth and we get clarity on some things. And again, there are people who will be facilitating those small groups have captured all of the percentages. So they'll know what the numbers were. And then they'll say, okay, it looks like we have a really strong consensus around this, or we really have no consensus. And then we'll ask, why do you feel there's so much disagreement on this point? And some people will talk historically. Well, we feel like a few years ago this was really going well, but now it's not going well at all, because everybody we'll have such a cross-section. We'll have people who've had 3 and 4 children come through the system. We'll have others who are thinking about putting their children in the system. We'll have others that have kindergartners, 1st graders, and they're just coming into the system. And so each one of them will have a slightly different perspective based on the involvement that they've had. So that's where we really get into the meat of what they meant behind the vote that they said in the large group.
If I here, I'm going to violate what I just said, but if I could, because I like to say I'm glad you asked the question about the small group part, because I like to say it in terms of this process. The large group part of it and the clickers, that's the appetizer part of it. That's that piques people's interest. That's because some people will be frustrated with the question. They'll say, well, I want to answer 2 of them, but the clicker only lets me answer 1. And we say that's okay, because this is the appetizer. This gets you all kind of interested in this. The meat and potatoes part is in that small group. That's where we can say, okay, you said, here's what the majority of people said, but let's talk about that. And that's where we get information that is really valued towards the final product. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Pro.
So welcome back. I'm thrilled that we're doing this study. I think it's long overdue. I think we've been doing a great job with our capital needs planning, but this is just so much more comprehensive, and I think it's wonderful that we're looking at programmatic needs and equity and all of those things. So thank you for coming and helping us with that. I had a few questions. First of all, I was wondering if we'll be looking at school start times as part of this project. And the reason I ask, it seems that it might be outside the scope of the project, but since we're already looking at bus routes and grade configurations and those kinds of things, it might be an appropriate item to include.
One of the things, I think you recall that we were bringing on an intern this summer to look at the high school start times in particular, and we have posted that intern position. So we can certainly look at asking questions around start times in the sessions. At this point, we were primarily focusing on elementary and middle, because again, we're looking at the K-5 or K-8 grade configurations. Do those make sense? Where could they work? Where might they work? And is it your opinion that the start times for elementary and middle school are also something that the board wanted to look into, or was it primarily high school? I mean, I know one would affect the other.
I think it was primarily high school. I don't know if I'm
and
the right person to answer, but
we have someone coming on this summer. We haven't identified the person yet, but the position's posted to have an intern dedicated to looking at high school start times.
And could we roll that into
We can
these
certainly have it
findings?
inform. Yeah, as I said, we chunked out this phase 1 to concentrate on the question of the feasibility of combining grade 5 with other elementary grades, whether or not it's in a K-8 or a K-5 or whatever the scenario might be. And so that doesn't, high school start times don't necessarily drive that, but we will look at in phase 2 if it provides information to guide what we do next.
And I had a couple more real quick. So I love the community. I think that's fabulous. And I think that's going to help us craft a plan that people are excited about. So, but here, my concern is that politics might crop up in these discussions and, you know, really. And, you know, as a board member, I've had paid people on my page, on my social media pages, and you know, we've got special interests at work here, and there are those who are competing with the district for resources and those who want to create a negative narrative about the school. So wouldn't it be a great opportunity for them to pack out a meeting and just negative, click, 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 you know, and we get a news story. So, and I know there may be nothing to be done about it. I'm hopeful that that won't really happen during this process, but do we have any protections in place so that this doesn't become a highly politicized
I'll share what has occurred and what I've experienced with it. And you're right, it's not unique. We have had sessions where there was an interest group. They came en masse to every single meeting, but they were by far not the only people that were there. And so the power of this piece with the clickers is you have typically, and Ed will chime in on experience as well, you have enough people so that you don't just get that one block voice every single time. Because over time, there is always a healthy skepticism out there. And we see it when they come in, and I share this with the group, where people will come with their iPhones and iPads, and they take a picture of every single screen, every single question. Or there are those that believe that it's rigged, and so sometimes they can see the counter, and they'll wait like, now, and they wait to see if the number changes to see. So you get all of that in there. But over time, the process just works because not only do you have that large group where you see what the questions are and you get the sense of it, and you tell them up front, you're going to get a chance to talk more about this. And so they know they'll have a chance to share, vent, cry, whatever, they will have that opportunity. So it's not like they have to come in wondering, because we explain to them right up front what the process is going to be. So.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit. You're right on. I mean, you know, in every large urban, even in small rural districts, in every school district we're at, there's some political realities that come to bear. Okay, and we have to employ tactics at the right time to deal with that. And so I hate to stand in front of you. I'm here, you know, I'm a consultant. I want you to trust me, but I do want you to trust me. We have to have trained facilitators that can break through that. You know, and sometimes, you know, Simi was saying we've had the same group come. I know, and I got permission to use this, but I always remember in Indianapolis where we went through this process, and the same group, they even wore the same color shirts with the stuff on. There was no beating around the bush. They were there for their purpose, and they were into every meeting. And you know, I got so that I would kind of joke with them a little bit, and then I'm saying, you know, we're gonna break into small groups, but there's only going to be 2 red shirts in this one, in this group over here, folks. And that's, you know, and you could get into that and start, and then all of a sudden they start seeing there's some other issues. And sometimes I get to the point where I say, you know, we get your issue, we get it, but this is a big picture kind of a thing, and so let's talk about some other things. And you know, I'm a firm believer that if you have facilitators that are trained and that are good at what they do, then we can, you know, reasonable people will come to reasonable conclusions. I really believe that when you take them through the process and you show them all the information and give them all of that big picture. So we'll do that. Part of it is we expect that to happen. And so that's part of what you're saying. And no, we can't eliminate it. We don't want to eliminate it. There's groups of people that want to come. We'll encourage them to come. But we've got to make sure through our process that it gets diluted. And so that that's one piece of because most of the time they have an issue that needs to be addressed in this process. So let's make sure we address it, and then let's move into the other issues.
And may I add one more piece on that? The other power of the clickers is that when those groups come, they come thinking everybody in the room has that same view. And then they see that PowerPoint and they realize, oh, wow, I am really outside the majority here. And so over time, just as Ed said, because it's so transparent, because it's right out there, it opens their minds to beyond just the one issue that they're talking. And if they do come time after time and there's not, well, they ask one set of questions over on the east and they ask another, when they see it's the same question over and over, they get by the, fifth or sixth time, they're pretty worn down because they see it's the same thing, folks, over and over again.
Go ahead. Sorry. And also, y'all could just ask us because we can probably identify the special interests. We'll give you a list. Anyway, the other thing I was going to ask is, how did you select the peer cities?
Oh, we've just looked at demographics, like in terms of size, in terms of we wanted some that had gone through this process recently so that they're facing kind of similar issues to the ones you're facing.
Anybody else with any questions, Ms. Pierce?
Yes, thank you. I'm a post-processor, so I know I'll go home and study all this and have a lot more questions, so I'm glad this is just the first night. A couple of the questions that I did have that have already come up in my cluster from hearing about this is, number one, I think it's going to be wildly popular within the community that we're studying this. Most families I know absolutely would love to see the elementaries go past fourth grade. I think that I'm hoping that at least part of this discussion will also ask, do families really think this will solve the attrition problem to middle school? Because I'm already hearing that really, I think what parents are excited about is it kind of delays their decision by a year. And so I have not heard anyone feel like this is going to stem or make significant changes. It just kind of delays that family decision point.
I think that's why we are also in Dr. Joseph's budget and looking at the strategic framework. We're addressing curricular and instructional and quality issues at middle school. So this is one piece of the puzzle, but it's not the entire piece of the puzzle.
Right. And then the other part about having this be comprehensive is I'm understanding that the fifth grade question is in phase 1, but the other charge of the transition team with Choice had been to really address that system. And so I'm hoping that is still part of this, the pathway question particularly, and all of those ripple effects that go into it. So I'm hoping that will also be addressed.
Yes, as you know, we can't do everything in year 1, but there are a number of things. And at the back of the deck that you have, there's actually, you'll see the number of high-level actions that relate to this issue, and many of those have to do with choice. And I believe I mentioned this the last time I was here on the strategic framework, but we're in the process of prioritizing which of those high-level actions are going to occur in year 1, year 2, and year 3. And so some of the choice pieces and some may also occur in year 1, but not specifically be tied to the capacity utilization and some of the questions that are being asked here. We haven't made that decision yet, but we will definitely be tackling those.
Okay. And it does seem to be moving really fast, which is a pro and a con. I mean, nothing is harder for a parent to hear that something is going to take years to study. But then on the flip side, I truly believe the devil is in the details to execute something well. And while as the board, we're specifically not supposed to get into the detail, I surely hope you guys are, because I'll probably be asking a lot of detailed questions just because that execution and the success of it is dependent on getting the details right. So
yes, and I think when you look at the urgency, go back to where Mr. Henson started and laid out the schools that have fewer than 300 students and require additional support from the school-based budgeting component, and then the schools that are at 70% or less capacity. There's a call for us to do this, and but it will be up to the board in terms of thinking of the timing and how fast we go. We will have the recommendations to you in early fall, so that if you all do decide to go forward with something that will affect the 18-19 choice process, then that's within the control. But we also understand this would be phased, and that there'll be sequential decisions and implementation. But it's intentionally trying to get you something before we have to go forward with schools of choice for next year, and the budget process. However, you may decide it's too fast and that we need to slow down and take some baby steps.
And I think this is one of the rare times that, as you go on that chart on who we're including in this process, we've asked for 3 board members, and we'll work with Ms. Shepherd to identify who those 3 board members are, because it impacts so much, and we know the devil's in the details. We want to make sure that on this, we do have 3 board representatives, as well as the other 34 people there from the beginning, getting in the details with us, having those conversations and talking through, because we know this is big, and we want to make sure not only is the board aware and updated, but the community is aware and updated, and that's why we talked about having a very strong communications plan through the process. So you would expect, sort of like we did with the strategic planning process, every once a month when we came to our board meeting, we gave an update to put out so people couldn't say they weren't informed about what we were doing with the process as we were going through, because we know this timeline is short and the implications are big. And so we'll do our best to just over-communicate and make sure we're actively involving as many facets of the community as we can. Because ultimately, I remember in my interview, Ms. Shepherd sharing that, we have to make some hard, tough decisions, and the time has come.
Anybody else? Well, I think I got whiplash when I was looking at the timeline, because it was so fast. So,
excuse me, I do have a.
Okay, I'm not,
I thought you.
I'll get you. I'm not done. So we had a community engagement process the summer after Dr. Joseph came, and it was wildly popular and very well received, but we didn't have any clickers. So I think the clickers would be really good, because I've used those before in meetings, and they are instant. I mean, you instantly know the temperature of the audience. So I love that idea. And so I have one question around the capacity analysis. Is it, and Mr. Henson probably can answer this, is it similar to the formula that we use now for our school structures?
The capacity?
Right.
Yeah, we have 2 capacities that we look at with our buildings. The first is the model capacity, and that would be based upon how the school building was actually built originally. The second is model capacity. Model capacity is how the building is currently being utilized. And so, for instance, we may have a school that initially it was built to have, let's say, 2 self-contained special education classrooms. Now it has 4 special education classrooms, which means those 4 self-contained special education classrooms are going to have a smaller student-to-teacher ratio, and therefore going to reduce the capacity of the school. Gotcha. So we look at the program capacity of the school based upon how it's currently being used, which can change every year, sometimes change within the year, rather than the model capacity when we're determining, okay, what is the utilization of that building, meaning if it's fully utilized, it's at 100%. If it's over 100%, it's overcrowded. And so we look at that in relation to prioritizing our capital budget requests as far as needing additional classroom space or possibly needing to build new schools.
Okay. One last question. Someone made the comment that we would be getting updates, starting tonight with the board discussion. And so are we talking like an update at every board meeting, or and/or work sessions, or monthly, or?
We haven't determined that exactly yet. The first meeting of the full committee will be the last week in May. Okay. And so we are having weekly calls and getting the data to MGT, and but we would have that first meeting, and we need to invite some other external representatives, like from council and some nonprofits and parents to sit on the team. And then, so it would probably be after that first meeting that we would start looking at, does it make sense for us to have a work session as soon as June, or do we wait until we've had a handful of community meetings, or do we bring back to you? So for example, are we looking at having community engagement sessions in all 9 districts, or do we look at the 4 parts of the city, and then come back if there are specific recommendations in the fall and double down in the districts that seem to be affected? So those would be the kinds of things that we would come back with, or here's what we're seeing. The other way is also your board members or board colleagues who sit on the committee may want to provide an update at a board meeting, and we'll determine that.
All right, great work, guys. Thank you. Dr. Gentry.
So I think I got slightly lost because we went from moving 5th grade to all this other stuff. So I just want to make sure I'm clear and everybody's clear that the study to move 5th grade someplace other than where it is right now is going to take place. That's definite. Correct?
Yes, that's phase 1, correct.
So I heard a lot about building capacity and things like that. Where does the social and emotional data and impact of 5th grade being where it is now and what we hope to gain by bringing it back with an elementary tier, where does that data come from, and where does it come into play?
So as we begin to look at scenarios based on, I mean, what's the driver is what's best for students. And so that social and emotional component is research that'll also be going on concurrently to say, what's best just research regarding grade configuration and what are the best developmental junctures. And so that will also, we will be establishing criteria to evaluate the data that we get back, and that research practice could inform the development of the criteria. So it's an underpinning throughout. You're right. We didn't talk about the fact that our K-8's best practice, our K-5s, but sometimes you go with what's best practice instructionally, but then your buildings don't allow you to do it or your laws don't allow you to do it. So we'll be
so I think that
just juxtaposing that.
Possibly from somebody looking at this later, the connection between the work that we're doing in assessing facilities isn't married clearly to that being an integral part of making the decision about the 5th grade, where 5th grade lands.
Yeah, I think as part of this, we can definitely have our research team, do a lit review, if you will, to inform the decision. Because it is going to be, we will need to be able to present the research and rationales. Why a part of this, when we give the scenarios, we'll also give the rationales behind it, and that's where the literature review and best practice will be put into place, because I agree with you that it will need to be communicated clearly.
We just need a clearer story on the why beyond physical resources and things of that nature. I had another one, but it's probably gone, so I'll hold it.
Here's and then Dr. Brandon.
Right. So following up on what Sharon had brought up, I think what I was trying to ask for about the attrition is I would encourage you all to change this page, because it looks like the driver is just to address attrition, whereas for me it's pedagogically best for students to have elementaries be longer, and it could be K-8, it could be K-5, K-6, but what we consider feasible is why you're looking at 5th, but I would go ahead and try to change that.
Yes. So it started with this one, which shows all of the different recommendations of that transition team, and then how we're addressing it in the strategic framework. But it's valid, both good feedback. We'll incorporate that. Thank you.
Dr. Brandon.
Yes. So if there were, the decision was made to have this 5th grade configuration in some schools, or will it be in all schools? Because as a principal, I've worked within the system in a school that had pre-K through 6, with the rest of the system operating in a different fashion. I've also worked in a school where we had pre-K through 2, while the rest of the system was operating with full scale configuration of other sorts. So is this a either or could it be within some schools, or?
It could be both and. My personal preferences, especially when you're operating on a choice system, is that your grade configurations, or at least the junctures at which students would transition, are comparable. Then there's greater equity in terms of when they can make choices to go to the next grade level, so that when you have disparate grade configurations, it's difficult for families to transition. It's difficult to communicate. But that doesn't mean that we've made a decision about that there's definitely K-5s or there's definitely K-8s or there's not going to be K-2s or pre-K-2s. That will come out in the wash.
Thank you.
So one final thing,
Okay.
I'm sorry. And so I think going back to Mary's point, and even what Dr. Brennan just brought up, I think that's a good point, and I'm glad you're thinking along those lines, because I would tend to agree, especially being in North Nashville, where our elementary schools and middle schools are struggling greatly with that retention of our students from elementary to the middle tier. So I think you all did a really, really good job of sort of building and taking us along the journey of building the strategic plan. I think we need to be prepared to do something similar with the whole middle school space, so that we don't leave out what we're doing with whether it's STEM and what we're doing with pedagogy, what we're doing with curricula across the different schools within the different areas of the city. So if we can, not come to the table to tell the story without all the pieces at least available, even if they're just referenced in bubbles around a big five, right? So it's pedagogy, it's curricula, it's facilities, so what are the various lenses through which we're looking at this fifth grade, bucket, and all the things that are going into the decision.
Anybody else? Well, thank you so much. We really did enjoy that. And we look forward to hearing back from y'all.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Bugs?
Be there no further business. This meeting is adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.